And that's what I was trying to get because I'm starting to get the feeling that this is Jason's last year, and that's why all this stuff is becoming overwhelming to him because he knows it's getting close to the end.
Mac guys, your Birds 365 men here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Hour number 2 coming your way. A Thursday prior to the divisional showdown between the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. JM, I put this question to our guest, Mr. Thompson, back in hour number 1. I need you to weigh in on what you think is going to happen as well. That's part of what we do here on Birds 365 and what I do on WIP and anywhere else that I happen to open up a microphone, and what you do in your columns, wherever you write. We prognosticate the future. We think we've got a pretty good grasp on things, and we try and get out in front of it and project and predict what happens before it happens. So I'm going to ask you to do that right here. Other than Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor, and I roll my eyes and I hold my breath, give me the breakdowns of targets by wide receivers for the Philadelphia Eagles in Sunday's game against Washington.
The targets of Eagles receivers other than Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert.
No, not Dallas Goedert, Reagor. Which, if
Reagor.
You want to give me Reagor too, if you go more than 2, I'm not going to be happy. But if you want to say just
Devonta. I think it changes with the quarterback. So I'm going to go. I think you saw that in the Jets game. You saw where. The Eagles' offense from a passing perspective had been Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert, and that's it, basically, for about a month period. Gardner was able to get a few more people involved. I think Wes Watkins had 3 targets. Kenny Gainwell had 5. He was back involved. Miles Sanders got involved from the backfield as well. So it depends who's playing quarterback. I think Gardner Minshew's going to play. Just kind of the feeling I get, and that's pure speculation. If that's the case, I think you're going to see 3 for Jalen Reagor at least. I think you're going to see 3 for probably. Yeah, I'm debating who's going to be involved.
You got to make the decision.
Is it going to be,
and who's going to be the quarterback?
I'm going to say John Hightower gets more involved than Greg Ward or J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Now he's the guy the Eagles protected this week from the practice squad. So this is very layered. This is very difficult for a number of reasons, Joe.
Yes,
it's very layered. You have to pick, okay, who is the receiver from the practice squad that is going to be elevated, number one. Then who of the bottom tier receivers on the actual roster is going to get the playing time? So you have a couple, and I think John Hightower is going to sort of leapfrog everybody. He's going to leapfrog the practice squad guys, going to leapfrog the guys on the back end, and except for Jalen Reagor. Which will upset people. So I think he's going to get the most targets. And probably, not a lot. You're probably talking 2 or 3.
Right. If he gets 3, that could make him the numero uno guy. Because we're not talking about that many. And, oh, by the way, as I said with Pete, one of my prognostication is ground and pound personified. I think the Eagles are going to run the football extensively.
Oh, yeah.
I think they'll get a lead and be able to run the football a lot.
And especially if Jordan Howard's back, and he was limited, estimated. So he's getting closer. So if you have him back in the mix, you have Miles in the mix, you have Boston Scott, who's not sick this week, and Kenny Gainwell to go from in that perspective. they're gonna run the football.
I think they're going to run it a lot. I do us a favor, since, and I kind of like your prediction of Hightower. I kind of agree with. I'm not happy with it because I'm a Greg Ward fan, and I'm still ticked off that the guy has basically been marginalized to this on this roster. When you guys have your scant few minutes to observe practices during the week, do practice squad players ever get to show anything? How would the Eagles evaluate that John Hightower is better than anyone else on the practice squad, or better than the currently on the roster but not getting the ball to come their way, Greg Ward's and JJ Arcega-Whiteside's? How is there anything that they can use as a basis to do it other than here's what we think?
Well, the practices themselves, you do have some developmental periods. I mean, the practice squad players practice just like the regular players. I mean, they go through the same drills. Generally, when you get to teamwork, they'll be more on the scout team than anything else, and you can open eyes that way. And I don't have as much clarity on how Nick Sirianni runs his ship, so to speak, because he's a little bit more tight-lipped about it than Doug Peterson was. Doug had developmental. Deuce Staley was in charge of the developmental program on the previous coaching staff, and they would have periods where they would work with the practice squad guys and the younger players and get them up to speed. I assume Nick has something similar. I don't know who runs it. Nick tries to be a little bit more, I don't want to say clandestine, but he doesn't, he wants, if something goes wrong, he wants you to blame him. He doesn't want to single out specific assistant coaches and what they're responsible for. And that's the way he handles it. And that's fine. But they're certainly working with the players and trying to develop them with the time they have. And that's the bigger problem. But they're under the same constraints as everybody else. So it is difficult to get noticed, but you get a feel for guys. Certainly over 13, 14 weeks, you know pretty much who's what and who can do this and who can't do that.
Well, we'll see if your guess is right, and I would kind of co-sign your guess because I think John Hightower's got a chance to be not in the spotlight, but a contributor to the game coming up against Washington this week. All right, did want to ask you about something else you were able to be part of yesterday, and that's Jason Kelce. He is a beloved figure in this town, as well he should be. First, for the level of his play. He is a borderline Hall of Fame center, just makes Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl. He will be forever adored in this town because of his outfit on the day of the Eagles Super Bowl parade. And oh, by the way, he's about as tough as they come and as class a guy as they come. And all those things are serving him well today because he just broke down and cried yesterday.
Yeah, he's turning into Dick Vermeil late.
He really is. And as beloved as Dick Vermeil is, he's taken some hard times and some shots in his town because he's ready, willing, and able to cry at the drop of his hat. I got to town just after Mike Schmidt and his tearful retirement speech was lambasted by some. This was, I believe, before A League of Their Own ever came out, and the phrase "there's no crying in baseball" was ever put forth. If you're a sports guy, you're not allowed to cry. It's
Jimmy Dugan, by the way. Tom Hanks is Jimmy Dugan.
Outstanding, one of my favorite movies ever. But yeah, that was kind of, and he was crying over a teammate when he, in describing Lane Johnson and everything that Lane Johnson has had to deal with this year. Some people it bothers greatly, others just analyze it for what it's worth. Some people actually get all up misty-eyed themselves when someone else starts to cry. I need the John McMullen reaction. As you're sitting there watching the YouTube. I didn't see it till this morning.
Well,
I didn't see it
I
last night.
tried to throw Jason a life raft. He was trying to get through it. Look, I have tremendous respect for you. I don't care. It doesn't. In fact, I think I mentioned it on the show. This has become a regular occurrence, where now it never got to that point, but a lot of times, Jason is very thoughtful with his comments, and a lot of times he starts to well up. And I joke about Dick Vermeil, but I think it's in the story I was telling. Someone had asked him, this was a couple weeks ago, how do you define a tough guy? And he was searching. He was like, I don't know. And he brought up a Bronx Tale. If you remember that press conference, it was the Bronx Tale press conference. And he was telling the story in that movie. And I said, it's pretty simple what a tough guy is. It's a guy who can go up there and cry, and everybody still knows he can kick your ass. And that's Jason Kelce. So, I mean, yeah, if somebody who isn't tough goes up there and cries, it's a different perspective. This is a guy, earlier in the same press conference, we said, how you doing? It was an ankle, oh, my knee, my foot. So it's an ankle, it's a knee, it's a foot. And he's just playing through it, and he's playing through it, and he's playing through it. So from that perspective, look, I think Jason Kelce is the most thoughtful interview subject I've ever dealt with in my entire career. So I applaud him for that. And he answers questions that way. And sometimes it comes up where he gets emotional about certain things. And that's what I was trying to get, because I'm starting to get the feeling that this is Jason's last year. And that's why all this stuff is becoming overwhelming to him, because he knows it's getting close to the end. Again, just speculation. He's admitted everything's year to year. Things are getting tougher and tougher for him physically. He keeps getting injured. It's really difficult. He has said numerous times, he's joked about it. The only reason he's playing now is because of the cafeteria. That part of it was a joke. And the camaraderie, that part of it's not a joke. And, this is way too much of a pandemic themed show. But if things start to scale back again and players can't be around each other, he doesn't want to be involved in that. So if we keep going in a negative direction from that standpoint, that will affect him. I'm starting to think this is it for Jason Kelce. I really am.
Here's my take on Jason Kelce in retirement. Been there, done that, been wrong, not going to do it again. It's been like 5 straight years where you had to contemplate, could the Eagles have to replace Jason Kelce?
Well, that's because he's very honest about Jody.
He's honest, but he's not. He still keeps coming back.
Well, no, he's not said. He's never said he's retiring. He said it's year to year. I'm saying he's been very honest about saying, he takes time. And that's sort of the natural, right? Like, if you got him the day after the season, he's probably going to say, yeah, I don't know if I want to go through this again. And then you recharge your batteries, and a couple months later, you miss your friends, and you miss Lane Johnson, and you miss all the guys you have fun hanging out with, and you say, yeah, I want to go back and do that. And that's part of the human nature of the cycle. But his family is starting to lean in that direction as well. Just speculation, but he's 34 years old. He's taking a beating. It's tough for him to get through the weeks. It's got to end sometime.
Didn't Mr. Whitworth play this past week at age 40 on the offensive line for the deleted? Now I got to call him. I wanted to call him several different things. St. Louis, the Los Angeles Rams.
Hey, Jason Peters is still playing. Some people, some people want to play, some people don't want to play. Everybody's different. I'm not saying he can't play. He certainly can play. I don't know if he wants to go through it. It's a grind, professional football. It's a grind for me. Never mind the players. It is a physical grind on them. And that someday, I hear what you're saying, but one day we're going to wake up on Birds 365, and he's going to go down that road. We're getting closer to that point, I believe.
Father Time is still undefeated. I know Tom Brady keeps being the best player in football at age 44, and he is so much the exception to the rule. Father Time's going to get him too. Just getting him later than anybody else. And Father Time will get Jason Kelce. I get it. I'm not speculating. I'm tired because 4 or 5 years in a row now, Jason, year to year, will make up them. Really simple, Jason. You're the starting center until the day you say you're retired. And until then, you're the center. You're the man. You can cry all you want until you look me in the eye and say, I'm retired. And even at that, because guys come back from retirement, you can't put the final stamp on him. But I'm not even going to think about it until Jason Kelce steps up and says, I'm done. I retired. I can do without the cafeteria. My wife has improved her cooking. We'll be perfectly fine. Thank you very much. Good night and get home safely. Until he does that, I'm not going to think along those lines. And it's a good thing to know he is physically ready to go and be ready to play this week.
I don't know if he's physically ready to go, but he's physically ready to play.
He's physically ready for Jason Kelce standards,
yes,
which are different than everybody else on the Philadelphia Eagles. He plays through absolutely everything, and that's the reason why he is as good as he is and he's beloved as he is in this town. And he's the guy who's going to snap the ball back to which quarterback again? Johnny Mac, who's going to be getting it on Sunday?
I mean, if you force me to pick one, I'm leaning Gardner today. We'll see. It's still early, but if they came back and Jalen Hurts and there was no, we're splitting reps, I would say it's clearly Jalen Hurts. I don't think it has anything to do with the opponent. I don't think it has anything to do with the offense. He's got a high ankle sprain, and it's a 2 to 4 week injury, and we're at 3 weeks. So it's uncertain, but I would lean towards Gardner. If you're forcing me to bet an Ocean Casino, I would lean towards Gardner right now.
And that is... And I don't want to knock Gardner Minshew because he did a real nice job against maybe the worst defensive secondary in the entire National Football League, the New York Jets.
Except for Elijah Riley. I'm joking.
How sad is that he was their best secondary player? He's been there about 10 minutes, and he absolutely was their best secondary player. Yeah, they're a little bit better, but the undermanned Washington football team is what Gardner Minshew and or Jalen Hurts is going to have to go against on Sunday. We'll get some more insight on where the Washington football team is, how many guys who are on the COVID list are actually already vaccinated and could be ready to go by Sunday, but will do so with no practice leading up to the game. We'll talk about all things Washington football team with our next guest. We're scheduled to be joined by Grant Paulson, who is the afternoon drive host on 106.7 The Fan down in D.C. GP joins us next here on Birds 365.